Just wanted to hop on quickly and give you a couple of hints as you're working on the Pong project. The first is to use these broadcast blocks and these when I receive blocks. So I've gone in here and I have said new, and I've created a broadcast new game. And then in my sprites, I will have a when I receive new game and what should happen at exactly that point. I have a broadcast reset and what should happen when I get to a reset. So every time somebody scores, where does everything need to go back to? So then everything gets this when I receive reset, where should I be? The other thing that you might look into as a broadcast message is possibly you want a player one wins type message. And then when player one wins, certain things happen. So you have ways to keep track of certain situations. Try to combine them as you're working on that. The next hint I have for you is as you are trying to figure out how to keep your sprite from bouncing off the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen, it might be helpful to build a wall up here. You could draw that in your background so that there's a color that it's touching. That would be a sign that it needs to bounce. You could build that so there's a sprite on the bottom and a sprite on the top so that you just tell them where to go and they would say if the ball touches it to bounce. Those are ways to handle the bouncing off the top and the bottom. The next hint has to do with what variables I might recommend. You're going to want a variable that's keeping track of the score for player one, and you're going to want a variable that's keeping track of the score for player two. And those you probably want to have showing, although you could change that if you wanted. You also are going to have some way to keep track of the ball speed. And I would recommend that you make a speed variable. And maybe while you're testing it, you want that in there to see that it's getting faster and faster. But then remember that you can uncheck this box and it will go away. So again, I'm clicking on the box next to the variable name on the variable tab, and that will make them show or not show. They'll still be there. Finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was paddle movement and a way to control the paddle that will make it a little bit less jerky. If you just simply say, when pushing up, move this far, it will continuously jerk. And so, what I tend to use is when, and we're just going to code the W key for moving up, when the W key is pressed, I want to do something until something else happens. So I'm going to repeat until, and then I'm going to use a not, and I'm going to go to sensing, W key. So this means that when the W key is pressed, it will keep going until I let go of the W key. Now you'll notice that nothing happened to my sprite. I need to put in the what I want the W to do. So what I want the W to do is point in a specific direction, or you could even have it just change the Y. W means go up, change Y by, and maybe you make it 2 so that it's moving fairly slowly. So now while I'm holding down the W key, it's going to move up. But when I stop, it will stop, and it moves smoothly. Then when you want to do the exact same thing with a different key, I just right-clicked on the code and clicked duplicate, and that will duplicate all of it. And I can change these to be S and make that to be a -2. And now when I push and hold W, I'll move up. And when I push and hold S, I'll move down. You may want to think about limits to this so that it can't go off the screen, but that's the basic idea of how to get started.